the best experience as a rugby league player is running out in the Queensland jersey at Suncorp Stadium.
And Hunt goes himself as he can, and he picks up another one. He goes Payne Haas. Oh, look at that.
He's big, he's strong, he can offload.
Here goes for Fido.
It would have been easier to stop a truck that was coming that way.
Hammer so Tabuai Fido. It's hammer time.
Well, now, she gets down low, she'll get it down this time. The victors in Women's State of Origin 2021.
Thanks for joining us again this week on Queenslander as we anxiously wait to see whether Lockie's Broncos can walk that finals tightrope into the top 8. After all the hard work that's been put in this year, the goodwill, Lockie, how devastating would it be if they slip out of the top 8?
Oh, look, I think there'd be a lot of soul searching if that was to happen. I think it's still a long shot. It will happen. But, yeah, look, someone mentioned it last week. I think since they beat Parramatta, they've just been a lot of people talking about them being top 4, and I think that maybe went to their heads a little bit, and they just haven't really played the style of football that they need to play to worry those top 4 teams. And obviously the weekend just gone was a bit of a it was a hiding really, and a lesson on how to play football at the top level. So yeah, they've got an opportunity to bounce back on Thursday.
Yeah, and they've had some great form throughout the course of the year at different stages, and I agree with you, Lockie. That one was an extremely painful game. You could see the players, and I always look when you're doing it really tough in a game. Memories of being a captain and looking around and just seeing that there was no conversation going on between the players. They basically said, that's it, the game's finished. Even though we've still got 15 minutes to go or something, we're getting an absolute hammering. They're the times that you look for the players to bond together and work as one more so than anything else. Brisbane's certainly was painful, but I'm sure we're going to see them put forward a very determined push to try and gain that pride back. Some very difficult recent performances, but I've been quite pleased with most of their performances throughout the year.
And even not being a current player, Lockie, how hard is a game like that to watch as an ex-Bronco when they're getting lapped at Suncorp Stadium in front of a big crowd?
Yeah, well, the Storm have lapped a lot of clubs over the years, so it's not, I don't think, when Melbourne are on, and at the moment they're in good form, and obviously once the game...
But do you still feel the pain? What?
Oh, yeah. Look, it becomes, OK, we've lost the game, to, this is getting ugly, to this is embarrassing. So that's the emotions you go through. But what's done is done. And I think what people, the fans and everyone at the club just want to see the reaction from that performance.
And Thursday night, up against a fellow finals contender in the Eels. Is this one of the biggest games in the past 3 years for the Broncos? Well,
yeah, definitely. There's no doubt about that. They've had a little bit of wobbly form as well, the Eels, at different times throughout the course of the season. And I think that you always give them respect. You can understand that they are genuinely there in finals time and can produce some impressive performances. But they've had a couple of wobbly games, and I think that it wasn't all that far back either. So I'm sure the Broncos will be very determined to perform well. And sometimes, in a strange way, you perform better against the top teams in the competition. You're playing a very similar style of game to what they do, and I'm sure it will be the ultimate challenge for the Broncos coming up.
And how does Kevy bring the energy back into the side after a tough week?
Well, you've got to keep him positive and instill that belief in him. And I think maybe you just go back to the last time they played the Eels and the way they played that game. And, there's definitely no Patrick Carrigan. I think they're missing him a lot, that communication, that talk, that energy. So they just need to compensate for that and know that they need to roll their sleeves up and earn the victory.
And Kurt Capewell has been named to play, even though he's nursing a niggling ankle injury. How impressed have you been by him, Wallen? Is he the kind of player that you don't realise what he adds to the team from the outside? Because he's not really a high stats guy.
Yeah, I've spoken to a couple of players about him, and the giggle comes out about, he tries to talk, he gets the gravel voice working, and most of the guys can understand him 3/4 of the way through. But, it's his performances where he leads from the front that gains enormous respect from the players. He's been a player that's experienced just about every style of footy. He's been in some teams that have struggled. He's been in others that have certainly been at the top of the table and done very well in the premiership. So he's been there, done that. He knows what he has to do throughout the course of the game, and I think that he takes upon the role of one of the real leaders in the team and sees it as a great challenge to lead the way for the others to follow.
Must be something in the air in Western Queensland. He's from Charleville. Must be gravel in the air out there. Look, I think he's really good at the effort areas, and that's where, Penrith are obviously very good in that department. And I think he's obviously learnt that. It's part of their culture down there, and I think he's brought that to the Broncos. And, I'd probably say, like, the form of the Broncos has been down since Origin, and Kurt's probably been a little bit quiet as well. But I think this week is, are we hearing whether he's in or out?
He's going to be named to play, but it looks likely he'll play.
Okay, all right, okay. Well, it's a really big opportunity for him to stand up as a leader of the group. Given someone like Paddy's not there, and he was brought to the club for leadership, so I think this is a game made for him. Yeah,
the players really get to be able to respect he's put his percentage in the game, Lockie. I'm sure everybody watching it can see his performances, but at the discussion, he mightn't do a lot of talking on the field, but whatever he does seems to be absolutely first class and very positive for the team to follow.
Can you guys remember during your time if, like, when you were playing, a premiership winner was brought in, or like a guy who came into your club and immediately helped lift the standards or was good for the culture? Or have I put you on the spot too much?
You had put me on the spot there a bit. I mean, we didn't bring a lot
because you were winning premierships.
We were winning, yeah. We didn't bring a lot of players in for that reason. One doesn't come off the top of my head straight away.
Who was the guy you played with who made you lift your standards? Well,
Gene Miles. He used to remind me when I was bludging on the blind or needed to do something, and he used to just basically scream at us, "We need to be shown the way. Lead the way." Sometimes it was possible. A lot of times it wasn't. But I don't care who the player is. You often look back on your career and say, well, I probably could have done a little bit more in that game. Never forgive yourself for not putting in a game. And believe me, when you retire and you look back at it, you probably wish you had have a little bit more in some different games, and you always find fault. And I think that's the good thing with good players. You like to find fault of something that you could have done a little bit better. It's a good thing to have, but it's also an instant admission that you didn't play as well as what you possibly could have.
I've got me player. Yeah. So it wasn't necessarily... Well, he did come to the club. He came from St George, but played reserve grade at St George, and then wrote a letter to Wayne about coming to the Broncos. I don't know if you heard this story before, but Mick DeVere. So Mick, he ended up playing for his state and his country, was playing reserve grade at St George, and just... I've never seen a guy... That's the reason why I handed over the goal kicking, because he's just so dedicated to his work, and just... One of those players that never missed a tackle, and if there needed to be a kick chase or a tackle made, he was just always doing it. And he would lead the way at training. So for me, Mick DeVere was that guy that led the standards.
And if the Broncos don't defeat Parramatta in Nine's Thursday night footy, it'll come down to the last round against the Dragons. Could you imagine that? Ben Hunt's revenge in the final round leads the Dragons to an upset over the Broncos to deny them in the finals. Could you imagine?
1 week at a time. Yeah. 1 week at a time, all right? I'm confident we can turn it around this week.
Well, the one thing that you can guarantee that he'll be fairly sparked for that game. There is no doubt about that. If he's ever taken on a challenge in his life, I'm sure he has on numerous occasions, and has been thrilled by his performance at Origin to be able to open it up for Queensland. He will see that as the next challenge to remind the Broncos.
You think he gets the Dally M? He was the leader when it went behind closed doors. Do you think he's done enough?
Yeah, Dylan Edwards is another one. There's this... I guess, you know, sometimes those top teams, they cancel each other out because there's so many good performers regularly.
Yeah. If you're a good player in an average team, you tend to have more chance to win.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dragons fans, but you are an average team this year.
Look, I think he's, you know, I'd be really happy for him if he is the winner, and he'd deserve it. But, you know, he's obviously gone to the Dragons and with a lot of expectation, a lot of pressure on him given his salary. So if he can do that, then it's a great achievement.
He's been under enormous pressure down there too, Lockie, I'm sure you'd agree. There were some games where the Dragons were scraping along, and of course, well, when you've got a team that want to do a lot better than what they actually are, the blame game starts almost immediately, and of course he's the $1 million man that they paid for. Are we getting $1 million worth of performances out? Well, they all seem to say no, we're not, but he really has produced some very inspiring performances recently, and particularly that one in the Origin was fantastic.
Yeah, amazing performance with that last-minute try for Queensland. My Cowboys, Lockie, tough run home for them. They've got to play the Rabbitohs and the Panthers. What will Todd Payten be looking to see over these next 2 weeks?
Oh, I just think he'll want to focus on themselves and make sure they play and execute their game plan, and then, you know, see how close they are. It might be enough to win both games. No Cleary, and I don't think Luai's back. And that game's at home, the last game, Penrith. And they got the Rabbitohs this week. So, look, I like the way they play.
Yeah, I've got it down there, Lockie. Almost the same there. Perfect their game plan. They've had it in operation for quite some time now, and they've looked absolutely fantastic. For me, a big move is going to be Tom Dearden.
What's his injury, Wal?
It's a ruptured nut.
Yes, it is he's got a problem with the ball, and not the one that they're throwing around on the field, but one that's taken a fair bit of a battering whilst playing football. So that's never comfortable. Oh boy.
What about the toughness of him though? He went to a function afterwards, and he said to the doc, I'm a bit sore down there.
Yep. Sore set of agates, and oh boy, that's going to be.
If I'd ruptured me nut, I'd be in the field position straight away.
Yeah, that's an indication of just how tough he is. If he could just continue on throughout the course of the evening, wow, he is one performer.
And over the next couple of weeks with no Dearden, do you move Drinkwater from fullback back to 5'8", where he's played previously, and put the hammer in at fullback, or do you just get someone else to play 5'8", maybe a Ben Hampton, and keep Drink at fullback?
Yeah, I reckon it's too much disruption to change Drinkwater from his role now. I'm not an NRL coach, but I'd be trying to minimise the disruption and put someone like Ben Hampton in at 6.
Yeah, you minimise the changes you have to make, don't you, Lockie? Everyone else is in a position where they're performing quite well. Just try and fill that 1-6 role without changing too many around. And I think the coach will be quite happy with what he's seen from them so far this season.
Well, if you put Drinkwater at 6, it changes the way they play. And that on the eve of the finals, you just really don't want to do that. Upset your rhythm.
And Chad Townsend's good enough to run the team by himself in the halves. And just finally on that, do you almost embrace the challenge? You play the Rabbitohs and Panthers, you both know they're going to be in the finals. Do you almost look at it and go, the finals have started early for us, or do you approach it differently, Cowboys?
I just think one game at a time. And again, I think the focus will be from Todd will be just this is the way we want, this is the way we play, and this is the way we want to play. Let's go and execute it as well as we can. And, you know, that could be good enough to win both games. If they come up short, then they'll look at that and try and learn from it.
Yeah, if you're out to perfect your game plan too, Lockie, you don't change it to a completely different one with the plan of coming back to your original one. It is just best to work out, a plan to continue on and do your best. Sure, every team is disappointed by a defeat throughout the course of the season, but you've just got to find the positive points in it and make sure that your team plays the best they can.
And just finally, one more to put you on the spot. If you had to predict right now the grand final, who plays in the grand final?
Well, look, I reckon, it was midway through the year, everyone said there's no doubt it was Panthers versus Storm final, and then the Storm went off the boil a bit. Munster back at fullback, I think, really brought them back up. So I'm going to stick with the Panthers Storm grand final with the Cowboys on standby.
I'll accept that. Yeah.
Identical for me. I can't see how how anybody else would, insult that. It is something that I think is extremely likely and will please plenty of people here.
I think the Rabbitohs are the danger. If there's a smoke here, a team that can get on a run with Latrell and Cody Walker, but don't know, maybe they might have to win 4 games in a row to get it done, but who knows? And the best place you can catch all the action leading up to the finals, Nine's Wide World of Sports, kicks off Thursday night blockbuster Suncorp Stadium. The Broncos needing a win over the Eels.